If ancient Egypt knew about iron literally thousands of years before iron smelting became a common thing, why doesn't its history contain a clear Iron Age? Well, the answer actually begins not in a fiery furnace, but with 9 tiny beads from Gerzeh and a spectacular royal dagger buried with Tutankhamun. Welcome to Dust of Ages. Let's dive right into this explainer and unravel one of the most fascinating technological mysteries in all of ancient history. You know, it's a question that completely challenges our traditional view of human progress. We typically think of history as this neat, predictable staircase, right? You've got the Stone Age, then you step up to the Bronze Age, and finally, the Iron Age. But Egypt, arguably one of the most powerful and advanced civilizations of the ancient world, just didn't follow that staircase at all. They seemingly skipped an entire era, at least on paper.
Section 1. The Egyptian Iron Paradox. Missing age or misunderstood timeline.
Think about it. We have this incredible civilization that built the pyramids, engineered massive temple complexes, and mastered complex medicine and math. They possessed highly advanced tech, yet they seemingly bypassed the Iron Age entirely. How is that even possible? Well, the plot really thickens when we look at the actual evidence they left behind, because it brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the gap between discovering a material and actually using it as an everyday tool. All the way back around 3200 BCE, we have these iron beads from Gerzeh. Fast forward thousands of years later, around 1323 BCE, and King Tut is buried with an intricate iron dagger. But it isn't until the 6th century BCE, nearly 3 millennia after those first beads, that we actually start seeing practical iron tools at places like Naukratis in the Nile Delta. I mean, that is an enormous delay. Why wait thousands of years to use a metal you already know exists?
Part of the mystery here is honestly just how we label history. Normally, we use a material chronology for the ancient Near East, stone, bronze, and Iron Ages. But Egyptology? It structures time totally differently. Egypt's timeline is built on political dynasties and kingdoms, the Old Kingdom, the New Kingdom, the Late Period. It's not a simple progression of what tools they used. So a civilization can be living right alongside Iron Age neighbors without ever getting an Iron Age label themselves. The paradox is, in part, a problem of our own modern historical labels.
Section 2. A Bronze Civilization. The Nile's Technical Dominance.
We really have to rethink what progress means here. Egypt wasn't lagging behind. They were absolute masters of their resources. They didn't need to adopt iron just because it was out there. Their environment and their existing tech worked perfectly for them. Think about what they had at their disposal. They had the incredibly predictable Nile River for transport and moving massive stones. They had rich copper sources right there in the Eastern Desert and the Sinai. They had established, highly functional bronze networks for all their weapons and tools. And they achieved absolutely massive architectural feats using just stone, copper, and bronze. Their existing toolkit worked flawlessly for their specific needs. That meant there was absolutely no immediate pressure, no urgent economic or military incentive to switch to anything else. Basically, why fix what isn't broken?
Section 3. Iron before furnaces. The Gerzeh beads.
So if they weren't smelting iron to build their empire, how on earth did they have iron beads way back in 3200 BCE, long before iron smelting furnaces even existed? Well, the answer is truly out of this world. It comes down to meteoritic iron. This is a naturally occurring metallic iron-nickel alloy that literally comes from meteorites. Modern CT, neutron, and X-ray analyses have actually proven that the 9 small beads found in the Predynastic Gerzeh cemetery were absolutely not smelted from terrestrial ore. They were literally forged from shooting stars. Ancient artisans took this incredibly rare space metal and shaped it through highly skilled, painstaking hammering, rolling it into thin tubes. They were working iron thousands of years before the Iron Age actually began. And the Egyptians totally knew this material was special. Later Egyptian language actually gives us this fascinating phrase, bija en pet, which translates to iron of the sky. Now, we shouldn't project modern astronomy onto ancient people, but the Egyptians clearly associated this incredibly rare metal with the sky, the stars, and divine power. It definitely wasn't a material for digging ditches or farming. It was a sacred, prestige material meant for elite funerary display.
Section 4. A Royal Bronze Age Dagger, Tutankhamun's Meteoritic Blade.
Let's fast forward to 1323 BCE. When Howard Carter famously cleared King Tut's tomb, he revealed an artifact that completely stunned the modern world. A gorgeous iron dagger with gold fittings resting right on the mummy itself. Naturally, the myths went completely wild, but let's bust a few of those right now. Myth number 1. It's alien technology. The fact? Portable X-ray fluorescence in 2016 confirmed the dagger's meteoritic origin. It is a natural meteorite, shaped by incredible human hands, not aliens. Myth 2. It's some kind of advanced ancient steel. Fact? It has a meteoritic iron-nickel-cobalt composition, not the carbon structure of modern steel. And myth 3. It was supplied by a secret Hittite iron monopoly. Fact. Modern archaeology shows us that early iron adoption was regional, uneven, and absolutely not tightly controlled by one single empire. So this dagger was likely an elite diplomatic gift or an absolute masterpiece of royal craftsmanship, not a standard-issue weapon.
So, that begs the question. If they had this amazing dagger, why didn't they just start making iron swords for the whole army? Well, smelting iron from earthbound ore is incredibly difficult. Bloomery iron smelting requires massive amounts of charcoal fuel, which is pretty tough to come by in an environment with limited timber like Egypt. It also needs highly specific reducing conditions and intense sustained heat control. And unlike bronze, which you can easily melt and pour into a mold as a liquid, early smelted iron comes out of the furnace as a spongy, solid mass called a bloom. That bloom has to be repeatedly, exhaustingly hammered while white-hot just to expel the slag. Worst of all, early smelted iron was often not even superior to high-quality bronze. It was super inconsistent. So the harsh reality of ancient smelting perfectly explains why bronze didn't just vanish instantly.
Section 5. Entering an Iron World: Politics, Pressure, and Adaptation.
But of course, the world outside of Egypt was changing. While neighboring regions in the Levant and Anatolia slowly and unevenly transitioned to using iron, Egypt's new kingdom, their great era of centralized imperial power, eventually collapsed. By 1200 BCE, the broader Near East begins its uneven transition. By 1070 BCE, Egypt enters the Third Intermediate Period, which was heavily characterized by political fragmentation. This completely changed how they interacted with the outside world. Then came a major shock. In 671 BCE, the Neo-Assyrian Empire, a massive military powerhouse fully wielding iron weapons, invades Egypt. Following this immense pressure, the Saite dynasty eventually revives Egyptian power around 664 BCE and massively opens up Mediterranean trade. Ultimately, it took centuries of political shifts and an actual invasion by the iron-wielding Assyrian Empire to finally push Egypt into a broader iron economy.
Section 6. Resolving the Paradox: Naukratis and the Practical Iron Horizon. To finally find Egypt's practical, everyday Iron Age, we have to look really late in their history, specifically to the late period in the Nile Delta. In the 6th century BCE, the port city of Naukratis became this bustling international hub. And what's super interesting about this site is that excavations there revealed dozens of practical iron tools. We're talking chisels, knives, sickles, found alongside actual slag and ore. Thanks to deep connections with Greek mercenaries and traders, iron finally stopped being just a wonder of the sky, reserved only for pharaohs and tombs. It became an ordinary, practical, economic tool. Now, experts still debate the exact scale of smelting happening right there, but Naukratis marks a definitive, undeniable shift toward everyday iron use.
So, let's wrap this all up. We've officially solved the Egyptian iron paradox. Egypt didn't lack iron at all. They simply had it incredibly early, but its daily use was massively delayed because their bronze technology worked so incredibly well for them. Initially, iron was just this rare, meteoritic material reserved strictly for ritual and elite prestige. When practical iron finally did arrive, it spread through slow, uneven Mediterranean trade and intense political pressure. Ultimately, this massive technological shift was simply folded right into Egypt's existing dynastic chronology, rather than being carved out as a separate named Iron Age.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought to ponder. Is technology really just a simple ladder that every civilization climbs at the exact same pace? Or is it a much more complex series of choices, deeply shaped by a society's unique culture, their available resources, and their fundamental beliefs? I really hope this explainer has completely changed how you view ancient progress. Until next time on Dust of Ages, keep questioning the past.